There were never any devils on this island. Just people. People like us. I see now. I finally get how Rhina feels.
Hey guys, it's Alexis here, and today we'll be taking a deep dive into the series Attack on Titan. We'll be taking a look at some of the different values and beliefs and some of the overall themes of the series and how that contributes to the overall theme and message of the series, which I've said a lot of times. But yeah, without further ado, let's get on with the video. I'm sure you're all aware at this point, but if not, let me give you like a very brief introduction onto the series Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan, made by Hajime Isayama, is a very popular manga and anime series, basically about the main character Eren, and following his story in the world they live in, which they live in a world with a bunch of these man-eating monsters called Titans. And he becomes, after losing his mom, he basically becomes a soldier and vows to wipe out all the Titans. But things get very crazy from then on. But that's not the point of this video. But the series deals with a lot of topics such as war, genocide, discrimination, human desires and human nature, existentialism, and overall just morality, which is some of the things that I want to highlight. Now, one of the values in the show, which you see is very common and very popular theme when it comes to shonen, is never giving up. Now, it's not necessarily well, hold on a second. I almost misspoke there. I was going to say it's not an insanely huge theme, but it is, at least for the first middle part of the story, there is a big, don't give up, aspect, because one of the things that is said about Eren is because the fact that he's alive is a reason why he shouldn't give up, because he was born into this world that makes him special. That is something that Eren has been told, and that's something that is said throughout the story. But anyways, the reason why I'm saying this is because something that is said throughout the show is the phrase Shinzo wo Sasageo, or dedicate your heart, which is kind of the rough translation of it. Dedicate your heart, offer up your heart, basically to dedicate yourself to something. Something that is always told to the soldiers, at least the scout regiment, is that they should dedicate their lives to the cause. Because, and this goes with the value of, they have this duty, they feel a sense of duty to restore the world and to make sure that there is a world without Titans where people can live free without worrying about, being eaten to death. So that is one of the values that kind of goes into this series. It's also, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it's also, they feel a duty to restore humanity. That's also a big thing. Humanity. You're gonna hear this word a lot because humanity is such a big part of this series, for better or for worse. It is such a huge part of the series. But it's also a call to arms, like kind of a rallying cry, something to hype them up. Speaking of motivation and all that, I can't talk about any type of motivation or not giving up, blah, blah, all that stuff, without talking about Eren's speech. Give some context. So basically what was happening, they were all fighting Zeke in his monkey titan form. And, he had already killed a bunch of soldiers, because what he did, he throws rocks at them. He throws small rocks at them, and I'm sure you can see at a certain force, what even a small rock can do to someone's face. It's not a good look at all. But anyways, so there were virtually nothing, for no houses or anything like that for their ODM gear to cling on to, basically. And they just had to, in order to give everyone else a fighting chance, they had to just take a suicide charge and just charge at Zeke on their horses. They just had to do it in order to kind of distract him in a way to make sure that Eren, Armin, Mikasa, and all the rest of them had a fighting chance to take back, was it Shiganshina? Maria? Whatever wall it was. I don't know. I get the wall names mixed up, but that's besides the point. And so of course, before going in, everyone else was like, no, I'm not doing a suicide charge, what the heck, they're all scared. First of all, they're like, we're gonna die anyway, it's what's the point of just charging at it? We're gonna die anyway, so why not just sit here and wait to die? But when Eren spoke, he motivated them to go out there. He's like, yeah, you'll die. He's like, yeah, we're gonna die anyway, but why not go out fighting. Why not go out fighting? You know, you're soldiers at the end of the day. You're my soldiers. So why not go out fighting? You know, to know that you gave a fighting chance to the people, for your comrades, to know that you gave your comrades a fighting chance, to make your predecessors proud. And then he said, during that charge, he says one of the coldest things he ever said. My soldiers do not buckle or yield at the cruelty of this world. My soldiers scream out. My soldiers rage. The purpose of me mentioning this speech is that it can be applied in real life. You know, this can be applied to a modern audience. People can take this with their own interpretation. They can apply this to their own lives. You know, if you're ever feeling, you know, down, if you ever feel like the world is against you, you know, just don't buckle or yield, you know, at the cruelty of the world. When things are not going your way, when things are looking very bad for you, don't just give up. Don't just like buckle or yield or fall to your knees. You know, stand tall, fight, be proud of yourself, stand for something. And I think that's a very powerful message. The line that really sticks with me is when he says, my soldiers do not buckle or yield at the cruelty of this world. If nothing else in that speech stuck with me, it was that. That is what stuck with me. This highlight that one more time. My soldiers do not buckle or yield at the cruelty of this world. Sit there and think about it. Think about it. Apply it to your own life. Think about all of the struggles that you might have gone through, you know, depression, anxiety, you know, maybe losing someone, you know, like when you feel like the world is unfair, but you're still here, you're still standing. Think about that. Another central theme or kind of value of Attack on Titan is the theme of purpose. A lot of the characters have to come to terms with the futility of their existence. But even so, they're all looking for a purpose. You know, like Armin, for example, his purpose of living is, you know, to see the outside world, see if there's more than inside the walls, explore, live, just to live, to be a person. That's his, you know, that's the thing he lives for. Eren, his motives, he lives to be free. That's his whole thing, is freedom, you know. And Mikasa, she kind of lives for Eren a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of something that one of the characters, Kenny, said that I thought about a lot, and I even wrote an essay about it. But we're all looking for a meaning in life, and we're all looking for a reason that we exist. And so when we as humans do that, we essentially become a slave to whatever we feel like that purpose is. Kenny became a slave to whatever it is that he was doing. Levi became a slave to being in the scout regiment. Eren became a slave to freedom, ironically. Same thing with all other characters. It's the only way that we as humans can live, if we're a slave to something. Whether that be, you know, your job, your friends, you know, a hobby. We all have to be drunk on something. That's the only way us as human beings can live. We all have to be a slave to something. That's what fuels our existence. Something that is very important to this story that I want to talk about is morality. Morality. I keep saying this word because I have to emphasize that, because there is a lot that has to do with the story, if that makes any sense at all. So mind you, in the series, they're at war, whether that be at war with the Titans or Eldia. Nope. Paradis, that's what it's called. Whether that be Paradis at war with Marley, or, you know, the soldiers at war with the Titans. They're at war. And something that I'm sure everyone knows is that there is always a cost to war. Whether you think what you're doing is right or not, whether you think there's a good and a bad in it, no matter who or what is happening, there's always a cost to war. People are always going to die. bad things are always going to happen. That's just how it is when you're in that kind of environment. And that does happen a lot. A lot of people die. A lot of people die in the series. But also, another thing is that the characters in the series have to make a lot of questionable and unethical decisions. That happens a lot throughout the series. And so that's why one of the most important things that's been highlighted since I think the first season was that there are no such thing as good and bad people in the story. They're literally just people, as Gabi said in the beginning of the video. They're just people, literally just people doing what they feel they have to do to survive. I'm going to play a clip of a video from YouTuber Vinny Tube Kai to kind of explain what I mean and kind of give context to the situation.
For anyone who hasn't watched Attack on Titan and watched this scene randomly, they'd sure claim the monster of this scene is Armin, and Bertholdt is the innocent who's getting eaten by a Titan. But the audience who have watched Attack on Titan knows that Bertholdt was fed to Armin in order to save his life. So what's the difference between a viewer who watched Attack on Titan for a long time and a viewer who watched this scene for the very first time? Their views on the morality of characters is different. When it comes to anime, the medium likes to explicitly exaggerate the internal introspection of characters rather than letting the viewer figure it out like most westernized shows.
So I think that right there is a good example. Yes, they're trying to save Armin's life, but at what cost? They're killing Bertholdt, which again, Bertholdt, he killed a bunch of people. But that's besides the point. That's neither here nor there. I agree with what the video said. When you look at it from a standpoint where you haven't watched the series at all, you think, oh, Bertholdt the victim, poor Bertholdt. But at the same time, not only did Bertholdt kill a bunch of people, but again, they're killing Bertholdt to save Armin's life. But that also raises another question. Because before that situation even happened, they had to choose between saving Armin and saving Erwin. This is what I'm talking about when I say they have to make a lot of difficult decisions. They had to choose between either saving the commander or saving Armin, who's just really smart kid who has really good, strategy tactics. And they ended up choosing Armin because Levi was like, it's his time. Like, just let him rest at this point. He already lost an arm. Like, it's his time to rest. Just let him rest. I know I keep bringing up Armin, but he just gives so many good examples. So as the Colossal Titan, because after eating Bertholdt, Armin became the Colossal Titan. Armin killed a lot of people. He killed a lot of people. When they went over to Marley to start the war. Declare war. I don't know why I'm so jumping up today. But when they went over to Marley to declare war, Armin ended up killing a lot of people because he said this himself about the Attack Titan. Not Attack Titan, what the heck? He said this about the Colossal Titan, that it's precise but not accurate. So if you don't know anything about the Colossal Titan, what it does, it's really big, obviously, but it also explodes. It has the power to have these explosions. And these explosions are really widespread. But it doesn't really have a specific target. So whenever he's just somewhere, the blast radius is just insane. So he killed a lot of people by that blast, and a lot of those people some of those people were children. Some of those people were children. Now he did that again. They did that to protect Paradis, but genocide isn't really ethical. It's not really ethical, Armin. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with the whole morality thing. Like, was it for a... It's hard to even say it's for a good reason. It's hard to even say it was for a good reason because it's just a lot that goes on with that series. But it's things like that that make you think about who's the good guy here, who's the bad guy. And the answer is really no one here because they all are forced to make a lot of terrible decisions because of the situation that they're in. Speaking of morally weird characters, let's talk about Eren Yeager himself, the man, the myth, the legend, who wanted to kill the entire population of the world. If that ain't unethical, I don't know what is. Now, for the purpose of this analysis, we're going to be looking at Eren through a psychoanalytic literary lens. Now, Eren is a very complex character. Now, people think that, oh, he's changed so much from the beginning of the series to the end of the series. And while that is true, while that is somewhat true, there are a lot of things that do stay the same. Eren was always a very violent person. Like, the first time he encounters Mikasa is when he was saving her from traffickers. And he murdered them in cold blood. Now, Eren is a very headstrong person. What he believes is right, and what he believes is wrong, and he will fight for that. So that's one of our introductions to Eren. That's one of our introductions to Eren, is seeing him murder some grown men in cold blood. He's always been a weird child. He's always been a violent child. But as he gets older and matures a lot more and sees how the world really is, his perspective on things truly changes. He goes from, I want to wipe out all the Titans and, want to restore humanity and things like that, to wanting to destroy humanity. But destroy humanity because he wants to protect the people closest to him. But by wanting to protect them, he also ends up hurting them. For example, he wanted to protect his friends and he wanted them to stay out of his way and not get involved in what he's doing. But he did that by telling Mikasa, someone who loves him the most, that he hates her and that she's a slave and that he hates her. And that made her cry. That made her cry. And of course, I like everyone else, was very angry with Eren for doing so. But then Jean points out, Eren cares about Mikasa and Armin the most. So he wouldn't do anything without a reason to do it. Eren is very driven by his goals. That's why he does most of the things that he does. He does, at least on the later half of the series, he does whatever he can so that he can be free. That's his whole thing, freedom. He wants to be free. Which, again, I mentioned this in the beginning of the video. Even he is a slave to something. He's a slave to freedom. And that's how he presses on. That's what he lives for, to be free. But that him wanting that freedom so desperately, not wanting anyone to take away from it, he ends up doing things like hurting the people he loves, wanting to commit mass genocide, telling his dad from the future to kill a bunch of children. It's things like that that make Eren a very interesting character, and kind of a scary one at that. But even though Eren did start the rumbling, he also wanted his friends, this is spoilers, he also wanted his friends to be the ones to stop him. That's what he wanted. He started all his rumblings like that he wanted to kill the world, but he really, if you really look at his actions throughout that time period when the rumbling had started, or even before it started, you can see the reason why he did a lot of stuff that he did. He wanted his friends to stop them, to stop him, because he felt like he felt like this is something he had to do. And because he was so far deep in it, in the way that he was acting, he was practically begging his friends to stop him, because he knew that they would. He knew that they wouldn't just take it laying down and just accept everything as it was and just watch the whole world be destroyed. He knew that. He wanted his friends to stop him. At least that was my interpretation. If you want to learn more about Eren's character, I would recommend watching this video. He makes a lot of great points, and he really delves into how complex of a character Eren is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I would really recommend watching that video, because I cannot do Eren justice, to be honest. Well, that's all I have for today. So if you like this video, please click like, subscribe, and in the comments, let me know what you think about Attack on Titan. And that's all I have for you today. Bye!
None of it matters as you lie bleeding out on the battlefield. None of it changes what a speeding rock does to a body. We all die. But does that mean our lives are meaningless? Does that mean that there was no point in our being born? Would you say that of our slain comrades? What about their lives? Were they meaningless? They were not! Their memory serves as an example to us all! The courageous fallen, the anguished fallen. Their lives have meaning because we, the living, refuse to forget them! And as we ride to certain death, we trust our successors to do the same for us! Because my soldiers do not buckle or yield when faced with the cruelty of this world! My soldiers push forward! My soldiers scream out! My soldiers rage!